Hi guys, so we're going to look at this topic, which is graphs of functions. So we're going to look at the paper 1 types of questions that would come on this topic and see how best we can answer them. So we'll start with the first question. The question reads, the sketch below represents a section of the curve y is equal to x open brackets, x minus 2 close brackets. So this is the curve that we have. So we have the origin there, we have A there, the point A. So now let's see what they're asking us to find. So the first part, find the coordinates of the points where the curve cuts the x-axis. So we find the coordinates of the curve where the curve, or of the points where the curve cuts the x-axis. So here the keyword is x-axis. So what do you know about the x-axis? Now here is one point. At the x-axis, the value of y will always be 0. So that is a takeaway you should always go with. So at the x-axis, the value of y will always be 0. At the y-axis, the value of x will always be 0. So now let us write our equation that we have. So we have been given y to be equal to x, then x minus 2. So this is the x-axis, so the value of y will be 0. So when we simplify this one, we want to see what we're going to find. So I'm going to say, let me first do it like this. So this is x and x minus 2. And how else can I write this? I can also write this as x open brackets, x minus 2 is equal to 0. So when we have something like this, now remember last time I taught on indices. Okay, so we're looking at a situation where we have AB is equal to 0. So if AB is equal to 0, this simply means A is equal to 0 or B is equal to 0. So even these two are multiplying. So this simply means x is equal to 0 or x minus 2 is equal to 0. So we have two things there. So that simply means x is equal to 0. Now the x minus 2 is equal to 0. You can simplify it so that x becomes, when the negative 2 crosses, it becomes positive 2. So meaning we have found x to be 0 and x to be 2. So now here are the coordinates. So we find the coordinates of the points where the curve cuts the x-axis. So let me write the coordinates for you. So the first coordinate is that when x is 0, the value of y will also be 0. Then and the other coordinate is that when x is 2, the value of y will be 0. Why is the value of y always going to be 0? Is because we are dealing with the x-axis. Remember, I've said at the x-axis, the value of y will always be 0. So that is how you can go about such questions. I hope you fully understand. We're going to look at the other part. What is the minimum value of the function? Now, what do you think is the minimum value of the function? The minimum value of the function is the point. So this is the minimum value. So at the turning point, this value of y here, of which I don't know what value it is, this value of y here at the turning point, this is the minimum value. So the turning point, we have x and y, but the value of y, that is the minimum value. So we have to find the value of y. But the question is that how are we going to find the value of y there? So now we are going to find the value of y there because we've been given something. On the values of x, I want you to note the values of x have been given 0 and 2. So this simply means 0 is the one which is here, the origin, that is where the 0 is. Then the 2 is the value of a. So this simply means the 2 is there. So now at the turning point, if we are from 0 to 2, we know to say the x value for the turning point is going to be half the mean of these two. So 0 plus 2 divided by 2 is 1. So this simply means the x coordinate for this one is 1. It will always be half. What is in between 0 and 2 is 1. So that will be the x coordinate of that. Then we just have to find the y coordinate. How do we find the y coordinate? We just replace 1 in this same equation. We have y is equal to, where there is x, you put 1, then open brackets, 1 minus 2. Then this will be equal to 1 minus 2 is what? 1 minus 2 is negative 1, and negative 1 times 1 is negative 1. So therefore the minimum value of this function is negative 1. Alternatively, there is a formula you can use to find the value of x here, which is this. So the formula you can use is x is equal to negative b over 2a. So here you can find you can use this formula to find the x coordinate, the x value of the turning point. But however, this will take us some time, because I've seen here we found two values for x, which is 0 and 2. Automatically the 0 is there where it's turning from, then the other one is a 2. So what is between 0 and 2 will be the x coordinate of the turning point. Then you just replace in there to find it for y. So that's the minimum value of y, which is negative 1. Hope that is clear. We proceed. We look at another question. Now we have the question as follows. How can we answer that question? The diagram below shows a sketch of a graph which meets the x-axis at negative 4 and 2. So it is meeting the x-axis here at negative 4 and 2. Find the equation of the graph. How can we find the equation of the graph? Now that is simple. Now remember, I want to show you something. For instance, if we say x plus 1 is equal to 0, what will be the value of x? We know to say positive 1 will cross the equal sign, then x will be equal to negative 1. Have you seen? So this simply means I can take back x is equal to negative 1, I can take it back in that form, in the x plus 1 form. So this simply means if the answer you found is a negative, it's going to be positive if you bring it in this form. If the answer you find is a positive, it is going to be negative if you bring it in that form. Now we are going to understand what I mean shortly. Now let me take you to what we have. So we've been told to say the values of x. We have x is equal to negative 4 and x is equal to 2. Now if I decide, how did we come about with negative 1 and 2? We came about negative 4 and 2. Initially it was like this. It was x plus 4, like that. Then it was the x minus 2 is equal to 0. So this is what gave us those values. So we're going to use this combination. We're going to multiply this so that we can find what? We can find the equation. Remember, if we say x plus 4 is equal to 0, we're going to get x as negative 4. And if we say x minus 2 is equal to 0, we're going to get x as positive 2. So in multiplying this, I'll say x times x, that is x squared, then x times negative 2, that will be negative 2x, 4 times x, that will be positive 4x, then 4 times negative 2, that will be negative 8, is equal to 0. So this will be equal to x squared, then we're going to have negative 2x plus 4x, it will be positive 2x minus 8 is equal to 0. So what I've found here is the equation, but it should start with y. So finally it's going to be, whether it is 0, remember we're looking at the x-axis, the value of where the value of y was equal to 0. So we're going to take back our y, so we'll say y is equal to, So we're taking back our y. Y is equal to x squared plus 2x minus 8. So that is what we have. So that is how you can find the equation of the graph. So now that the equation of the graph has been found, that was part A. What of the other part B, the coordinates of the turning point? How can we find the coordinates of the turning point? So there again, we have to understand how best we can go about that. I'm going to show you the shortcut on how we can find the x coordinate. To find the x coordinate here, we just look at, we have negative 4 and 2. We just add them. So I'll say negative 4 plus 2, then you divide them by 2 since they are 2. We're finding the mean of these. Negative 4 plus 2 will get negative 2. Then negative 2 divided by 2, we get negative 1. So negative 1 is the x coordinate of the turning point. So if you check, this is the turning point. So when you go there, in here, this is negative 1. That's how you can find that. Alternatively, I say there is a formula you can use to find the x coordinate, which is x is equal to negative b over 2a. You can also use this, but I prefer using that because that will be faster. Now that that has been found, I need to find the y coordinate. Now to find the y coordinate, I just have to get the equation. Since I already have the equation here, and the equation is y is equal to x squared plus 2x minus 8. So y is equal to, what's the value of x? Negative 1. So negative 1 squared plus 2 negative 1 minus 8. So y will be equal to negative 1 squared is positive 1. Positive 2 times negative 1, that's negative 2, and minus 8. Y will be equal to, what is 1 minus 2? That's negative 1. Negative 1 minus 8, that is negative 9. So therefore, we have found the coordinates of the turning point. So the coordinates are as follows. Start with x, right? It's x comma y. So x is negative 1, then y is negative 9. So these are the coordinates that they were looking for. So that's how you can find such questions. We now proceed to finding the other one. So let's look at another example so that we can cement our understanding. So we have a function y is equal to that. Then we're told to say sketch the graph of the function. Now before we can sketch the graph of the function, I want us to expand first so that we can have it in this form. It's going to help us so that we can have it in this form. Y is equal to ax squared plus bx plus c. So once we have it in that form, the value of a is the one that is going to help us. If the value of a is positive, or if the value of a is negative. So it will be positive if it is greater than 0, and it will be negative if it is less than 0. So that is what is going to help us. So we're going to look at the value of a. So if the value of a is positive, it means the graph will be a U-shaped. So it means the graph will be U-shaped. It's going to be something like that. If a is less than 0, then it's going to be N-shaped. So we're just doing a sketch. We're just doing a sketch. We're not plotting, we're just doing a sketch. So now, how are we going to sketch that? So in sketching that one now, what I'm going to do is I'll expand that. So we're doing part A here. So I'll say y is equal to 1 plus x, then x minus 2. So 1 times x, so this will be y is equal to x. Then so I've done 1 times x. Then I'm going to do 1 times negative 2. So if you multiply positive 1 times negative 2, we are getting negative 2. Yes. So I'm going to write negative 2 there. Then we go to x times x, we're going to get positive x squared. Then x times negative 2, we're going to get negative 2x. And this will be equal to y is equal to, I'll start with the x squared first. So I'm going to say x squared, then x, these are like terms, x minus 2x. So what is x minus 2x? I'm going to have negative x, then minus 2. So now that it is in that form, what is the value of a here? If there is no number here, just know to say the number that is in front there is a 1. And is 1 less than 0 or greater than 0? 1 is greater than 0. So meaning 1 is positive. So if 1 is positive, meaning the graph will be a U-shaped. So this is what you do now. Let us sketch it. So XY plane, so I'm going to do that. Then I'll also do that. So we're just doing a sketch, so meaning our graph will be a U-shaped. So maybe something like that. So our graph will be U-shaped. So meaning this is a graph of y is equal to x squared, what we found, x squared minus x minus 2. So we have sketched. So that is how you can just sketch temporarily. So knowing that this is y, this is x. So we have sketched. So after sketching, we can proceed to look at part B of the question, which is saying find the minimum value of y. How can we find the minimum value of y? Now here we're going to use the formula because I don't have the values here. I don't have the x axis, the values for the x axis. So to find the minimum value of y, because I know it's somewhere there, so this is where the minimum value of y is found, and here that is where x is found. So I just have to use the formula for x, which will be x is equal to negative b over 2a, where I know to say, look at the equation, the value of a, so in here the value of a is 1, the value of b is negative 1, the value of c is negative 2. So if I go to that, I'm going to say b is negative 1, so it's going to be negative, then again negative 1, then over 2a, so the value of a will be positive 1. So that will be 1 over what? 1 over 2. So what is 1 over 2? 1 over 2 is the same as 0.5. So you can even put 0.5 here. So x we found 0.5, but we're not looking for x. Remember the question is saying the minimum value of y. So how can we find now the minimum value of y? So we're going to use what we have to help us find the minimum value of y. So the equation is as follows: y is equal to x squared, then minus x minus 2. So we're going to replace. So this will be y is equal to, whether it is x, we put 0.5, then it is squared, minus 0.5 minus 2. Y will be equal to, what is 0.5 squared? 0.5 squared is 0.25. 0.25, because 5 times 5 is 25. So minus 0.5 minus 2. Then we just have to subtract those. So y will be equal to, what is 0.25 minus 0.5 and minus 2. So what are we going to get? So 0.25 minus 0.5, we're going to get negative 0.25. So negative 0.25, then minus 2. So if you subtract that, then the value of y will be equal to negative 2.25. 2.25. Then I'm going to just round off. So I can round off the value so that I can, the nearest positive number, the nearest whole number. So I can just say the value of y is equal to negative 2. Negative 2 is the nearest whole number. So I'm going to say this is negative 2. Then this is half. So that is how you can go about that one. So there we are not given the x axis, so we just ended up finding the value. So if the minimum value of y is that, but if they ask you to find the turning points, meaning you just have to write them in coordinates form, starting with x, then y. So that is how you can answer questions on graphs of functions. And I'm going to leave you with some questions that you can try. So this would be the first question that you can work out. Yeah, so you try out this question. I hope everything is clear here. Then the second question that I want you to try is this one. So try out this second question, then see how you're going to find the answers.